Good morning. Let's get straight to your daily intelligence briefing for March 1st, 2026. We're tracking significant escalations abroad and some major shifts on the domestic front.
Here is the operational roadmap for today's briefing. We'll lead with the West Asia escalation and its direct impact on India. Then, we'll cover the new GDP series, a major verdict in the Delhi excise case, and key corporate updates. We'll conclude with a look at an editorial on policing and protest. Let's begin. All right, starting with our lead story. The situation in West Asia has escalated, well, dramatically. And it's exposing India to some very real aviation and energy risks.
So, what's the situation? We're seeing joint U.S.-Israeli strikes hitting targets inside Iran, which in turn has triggered retaliatory missile and drone attacks. The Pentagon is already calling this phase Operation Epic Fury. The key takeaway here is that the conflict theater has now expanded into the broader Gulf region. This isn't contained anymore.
And you just have to look at the target list to see how serious this is. It's not just military sites. We have confirmation that Iran's defense minister and a top Revolutionary Guards commander are dead. But what's really escalating things is the reporting that both the supreme leader and the president were targeted. Now, their outcome is unclear, but the fact that they were targeted at all, that is a massive development, a direct strike at the heart of the Iranian regime.
So how are the markets reacting? Well, exactly as you'd expect. The immediate impact is a spike in oil prices. Brent crude jumped to nearly $73 a barrel. That's a $6 increase in just a few weeks. This is the first big economic shockwave, and it probably won't be the last.
For India, this is where it really hits home. That number, 40 to 50%, that represents the share of India's crude imports that have to pass right through the Strait of Hormuz. Think about that for a second. Almost half of our energy supply is channeled through this one narrow waterway, which has just become a live conflict zone.
And if we zoom out, you'll see this isn't just an India problem. The Strait of Hormuz is, a critical artery for the entire global energy supply. About a quarter of all seaborne oil trade passes through it. Any disruption there doesn't just hurt one or two countries, it sends tremors through the entire global market.
So let's bottom line this for India. The strategic implication is what's being called a dual shock. It's two problems hitting us at once. On one hand, you have the physical, logistical disruption. Passenger and cargo movement through a key corridor is now at risk. And on the other hand, you have the economic risk, the potential for sustained high energy costs, higher shipping fees, and major trade rerouting. It's a threat to both our physical supply lines and our economic stability.
Okay, let's shift focus now to the domestic front. We have three key updates for you covering macroeconomics, politics, and a security situation closer to home.
First up, this is a big one. India has officially reset its GDP series with a new base year, and it has completely changed our economic picture. Now, the forecast for this year is actually up slightly to 7.6%. But, and this is a big but, look at the revisions for past years. They've been revised down pretty significantly. And the main takeaway here is that since the calculated size of the economy is now smaller, our debt-to-GDP ratio and our deficit suddenly look worse. It's simple math, really. You've just made the denominator smaller.
So what's the challenge ahead? Well, the chief economic advisor, V. Anantha Nageswaran, has laid it out pretty clearly. To hit that new 7.6% full-year estimate, the economy is going to have to post a really strong final quarter. We're talking 7.3% growth or more. The pressure is on for a strong finish to the fiscal year. All eyes are on Q4.
Next, we have a major legal development. A special court has discharged Delhi's Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal, along with Manish Sisodia and 21 others, in that high-profile excise policy case. But it's the court's reasoning that's the real story. The judge cited severe procedural lapses and called the entire investigation, and I quote, a premeditated and choreographed exercise. Now that's incredibly sharp criticism coming from the bench. The CBI, for its part, has already said it plans to appeal.
And the political fallout? Well, it was immediate, and it was explosive. Arvind Kejriwal came out swinging, calling the whole affair the biggest political conspiracy in independent India. He then went on to directly attack the central government and challenge the BJP to fresh elections. So what started as a legal case has instantly become a full-blown political war.
And finally for this section, a security update from our western border. Pakistan has reportedly bombed cities in Afghanistan, and its defense minister is now describing the situation as an open war. But just look at the casualty claims coming from both sides. They are miles apart. Pakistan claims 274 killed for the loss of 12 of their own. Afghanistan claims they killed 55 Pakistani soldiers and lost only 13. It's just a stark reminder of how impossible it is to get verified information in a conflict like this.
All right, let's move on to corporate and business intelligence. We're tracking 4 significant updates: a major milestone in semiconductors, a contentious energy deal, a big move by a global fund, and a landmark Supreme Court ruling.
Kicking things off with a big number, 22,500 crore rupees. That is the investment behind Micron Technology's new semiconductor facility in Gujarat, which was just inaugurated. This is a huge deal for the India semiconductor mission. Why? Because it's the first major project to actually get off the drawing board, go into production, and start shipping ships. It's a real proof of concept.
Next, in the energy sector, we've got an interesting situation developing. Andhra Pradesh has greenlit a 300-megawatt power supply agreement, but there's a catch. The state is flat out refusing to pay the interstate transmission charges. Essentially, they're telling the power producer, sure, we'll buy your electricity, but you're on the hook for getting it to us. This shifts a major cost and logistical burden back onto the generator.
Now for a major move in global finance. Norway's sovereign wealth fund, and we're talking about a true giant here, with over $2.2 trillion in assets, has decided to exclude Adani Green Energy from its investments, citing corruption concerns. Now, the actual financial stake they held was small, but the signal this sends is massive. When an investor with this kind of influence and reputation makes a move, you can be sure other foreign funds are paying very close attention.
And finally, a really crucial ruling from the Supreme Court that impacts India's entire bankruptcy framework. The court has essentially drawn a line in the sand. It's ruled that losing bidders in an insolvency case can't just keep filing lawsuits by claiming procedural flaws when, in reality, they just don't like the commercial decision the lenders made. This is a significant step aimed at cutting down on endless litigation and making the whole insolvency process faster and more decisive.
And for our final section today, we turn to the opinion pages for a critical perspective on the intersection of big tech events, politics, and the state's response to dissent.
This analysis comes from an editorial in The Hindu titled Bad Publicity. The piece focuses on the recent India AI Impact Summit in New Delhi, and its core argument is that the event ended up generating headlines for all the wrong reasons.
The editorial makes its case in 2 parts. First, it contends that the summit itself was sort of hijacked by politicization and a VIP culture, which overshadowed the actual substance of AI. But then it connects this to a second, more critical point. The police response to a youth protest related to the summit was, in their view, totally disproportionate, with heavy-handed charges like rioting being used.
And that brings us to the editorial's concluding thought, which is where we'll end today's briefing. As they note, peaceful dissent is a vital component of democracy. It's a powerful reminder of that delicate balance between state authority, progress, and the fundamental right to protest.